Tell us about significant events that happened in your lifetime.
Well, one of the first ones that comes to my mind is the explosion of Mount St. Helens. We were getting ready for church. It's one of those things that everybody remembers, that we were getting ready for church and we came out the door. I think it was the front door, which was unusual, but went out and it was just exploded. It's far away. I don't know how he would know how far away it was, but
About 50 miles from our house.
yeah, and it was so dramatic and so terrifying and scary. And of course, in those days, you maybe you could go to the television, but it wasn't like it is now. You're pondering it. You don't know what it is. Why is it? And then figuring out what's happening. I think you knew right away that it looks like you didn't. Okay.
I was in work in Seattle.
Okay, that makes more sense. And it was so. I mean, I remember going out the front door and just seeing how dramatic it was. So dramatic and so scary. And of course, remembering I'm a new, very serious Christian, and I knew that bad things were going to happen, and there was going to be wars and rumors of wars and pestilence and famines and all this kind of stuff. So that's my first thought was, okay, it is serious, and it was so dramatic and so serious, and it didn't take very long for the sky to go dark because of all the ash, and then the ash started to fall, and it really significantly changed so many things, and the stress and confusion and what's happening, and lots of rumors, lots of conjecture, lots of stuff. And I don't know. Were you working a 4-day shift at that time? I'm not remembering that, but you weren't there. And so the kids and I, and of course, I immediately got everybody praying, and us. You didn't get any information. There was nothing really on television, or and I don't think we had a radio. But so it was like blank. We don't know what's going on. It took quite a while before. It wasn't like instant, like right now, probably 10 minutes later, they'd say Mount St. Helens blew. It wasn't like that right there. Everybody was confused and what's happening, and were we bombed? This area in the Pacific Northwest is kind of could get bombed. It'd be on.
Did you end up going to church or staying home?
We stayed home. We immediately went back in, like I said, and prayed. I had everybody hold hands and pray together, and it was one of the times that Jody was pretty happy about prayer. It's like, this could be it. I need to pray. So he had quite a significant spiritual experience, at least for a while. But it was mass confusion for a long time. And people didn't phone people that much. It just wasn't the same. But you did turn on the television, and then pretty soon it started coming out a little by little. We hadn't been hit with, nobody had bombed us and all of that. So that's one very significant event that happened. There's more, but I'll leave it at that.
I think the first one that I remember was, I think it was around 1949 when we had an earthquake. And it was right just before noon because it was my dad and our hired man and myself. We were walking between our old house and our new house to go in for dinner. And Dad says, "That's an earthquake." And I remember looking up the road. I could see up the road and I could see it coming. And it was
Right.
like a wave on the water. And I swear, even to this day, that the wave was about 3 feet high. And I could see it just coming down the road. And it's going kind of slowly. And when it hit the corner of the house, it picked up one corner of the house. I could see underneath. It went back down and it went across the other one. And we were just trying to stand there. And just as clear as day, I saw the earth look like waves on water. And that made quite an impression on me.
Yep.
And then basically the damage in the neighborhood was minor. When the house went like this, it knocked most of the chimneys off and they fell off the roof. And so that was it. The second thing was when Kennedy was shot.
Oh,
At that
yeah.
time, I was going to school in Tacoma to be an auto machinist, and I was working all night at a service station. And it happened that I heard about on the news going from my service station job to school, and that Kennedy was shot, and all the news was on the radio. And so that was what I was doing at that time. And then the next important one was World Trade Center. We were on vacation in Bemidji,
yeah.
Minnesota.
Yep.
And Darlene is kind of addicted to television. And so we hadn't had television for the last several days. And so we were in a campground in Bemidji. It was breakfast time, and she said, "I want the television on." So I put the television on the table in our fifth wheel
Yep.
and turned the television on just in time to see the second plane hit the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
And so then,
Yeah.
what in the world is going on? And
Yep.
that kind of changed the whole trajectory of people in the world,
Absolutely.
in the United States especially. And it was just amazing. We went out shopping later that afternoon, and it was amazing the people that were together. Everybody was trying to help anybody or share information about what was going on. It was really interesting.
Yep.
And on the ticker across all the televisions was where there's local prayer for which
Right.
churches were having prayer at various times. And so all the churches were opened up for prayer. So there was 3 significant events in my life.
What was the consensus when Kennedy was shot? Was it, how did people say about it?
There was not much said. It was pretty much absolutely silent as far as getting information from the government. And that's why the investigation went for so long, and there's still all kinds of theories about what did or did not happen.
Right.
And I think and the commission that studied it never did come up with anything for sure. Whether there was a second shooter, first shooter, this sort of thing. They had some film, but the film of it, but there was nothing definitive other than he's died.
Yeah, it was pretty life-changing for a lot of people. And who filled in? Who was the president when he died? Do you remember? Was it Nixon?
No,
Okay.
Kennedy's. I was a Democrat. I can't remember.
But somebody
Yeah.
somebody came in, and
And
it was very dicey at that time too, because that's when the conspiracy theories really kicked in.
Well, the
on
first thing that happened is the
television
Speaker of the
and-
House says, I'm in charge, instead of the Vice President being in charge.
who
I can't remember who the Speaker was, but that was one of the things that was said. And so right away, things were a little shaky in our government from the start.
Yeah. And he was this. You're not copying? Good. I mean, like, no. I was just like, but it was pretty dicey because Kennedy was loved. That we don't have that very often, where a president is just loved, and whoever took over, and I'm thinking it was Nixon, but I don't know that. But anyway, whoever took over, we could look it up on your machine.
Whatever. Go on.
But well, it was just a very, very stark difference. Here's Camelot and beautiful people and everybody, not everybody, but he was loved. It was one of those things where the president, we haven't seen that here, but he was loved. So it was very devastating personally to a lot of people, and it really did change things, suspicions, and it just is like a slice through life at that time. It was not good.
Right.
And then the suspicions and the people against the people, that's when I would say things took a dramatic turn to the dark side. And I think it never has.
It's never recovered.
Never recovered.
If we had that situation, I believe we had that situation today,
Yeah.
with the president as much acknowledged, loved by the Democrats, accepted by the Republicans, we would have a riot. It would be very, very uncomfortable.
Yep.